Kia ora and welcome to the Niggly Niche Cast. I am the Diggity Doodah Doc, and we are here to talk Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 4 with the wobbly wildcard. You know the deal. If you do appreciate the Niche Cache and the Niche Cast, jump on Patreon, support the Niche Cache on Patreon. Best way to support us as we do our thing. Wobbly wildcard. How are you feeling now that Daenerys has one dragon remaining and no best friend?
Yeah, she's running out of allies pretty quickly, isn't she? I mean, old Jorah kicked the bucket one episode, Missandei the next, lost a dragon in between. She really doesn't have a lot of friends. I don't know that it's affecting my feelings so much. I think it's definitely affecting her psyche.
Yeah, she's not dealing with I called it fear. I called it fear that everyone's against her, and that's causing when you're operating out of fear and you're operating out of insecurity, it manifests into a whole lot of very shit situations. And I think what she's dealing with is just fear. Fear of everything being wrong, fear of being alone, fear of, you could get into some really deep psychological stuff with Daenerys Targaryen, but what you're seeing is just fear that becomes anger, that becomes hatred, that becomes drama,
paranoia,
and that's where you sit right now.
Yeah, she doesn't seem too happy, that last shot of her just wandering off towards the camera, absolutely bloody seething. Not happy, definitely not happy. I can understand why though. She's copped a few blows in the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, well, it's different situations. That was right after she had lost her dragon and her best friend.
And her other best friend. And pretty much, I don't think it's official yet, but I think it's safe to say that if they're not broken up, they're definitely on a break. Or Jon and Dany.
No, but that's the thing is the anger and hatred you're talking about was right after she saw Missandei's head fall off the edge of the castle.
Yeah, but that's added on to the anger she was already holding inside, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the root cause of all of that is her dealing with her own issues, and then you've got the superficial, not superficial at all, but the surface level kind of shitty situations that are causing the anger and hatred. But there's a nugget of fear, there's a nugget of insecurity that sits in how her relationships with other people are going at the moment.
Do you think she's entering Mad Queen status? Do you reckon that's where we're going with this?
I think that's what we're meant to think.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're, say she burns down everyone in King's Landing. It doesn't make her a mad queen. It just makes her a ruthless mofo who's ready to do whatever it takes to win a battle. The maddest person in this whole thing is Cersei, because there's a irrational side to what she's doing. But no one's going to be pissed off. They're kind of portraying, they're painting, or they're pushing this line that because all the citizens are inside King's Landing or inside a certain section, then you can't kill the citizens. Well, at this stage of the battle, at this stage of the journey, no one's going to begrudge Dany if she just kills a whole lot of innocent people. Let's be honest here.
I might. I think a few people might too. I certainly don't think that's what Jon would do in that situation, and that's not helping her political cause any, very much.
No, but that's the issue. That's the problem, is you've got people in their feelings, you've got people in their, you've just witnessed whatever you've witnessed in the north, and you've got this woman who is clearly crazy. I mean, she just cut off the head of a seemingly innocent person herself. So at this stage, if you just want to win the war. And I think anyone in that situation, if I was in Daenerys' shoes right now, well, I wouldn't be because I'd listened to everyone and I would have waited before going down to King's Landing. But you would cautiously go about burning King's Landing to smithereens.
And then what do you rule afterwards?
You got your little crew, you got your people, start a couple of families.
Build it up from the ground again. I think.
Like, what are the citizens in King's Landing offering you?
Your kingdom. They're the people, you know. They're not involved in this. They don't care about Cersei any more than they care about Daenerys any more than they care about anyone. They're just, you know, the regular plebs. And
there's regular plebs all over Westeros. There's we've heard about the Dornish. There's people everywhere, and to be honest, those people are going to die either way. Cersei's going to burn them all with wildfire, or Daenerys is going to burn a few people with her dragons.
A lot of fire involved, eh? Everyone seems to, I don't know. I guess it is a song of fire and ice, and we dealt with the ice already, so, yeah. I don't think we're going to see mass massacres. I don't think that's quite where they're leaning, but hey, lots of stuff up in the air after that episode. If we're looking at Daenerys's governance strategy, I think her biggest problem going all the way back to the start is that she has a sense of entitlement about her claim to the throne. Not just that she has a claim, but like that it is hers, like no one else can have it. And she doesn't have a lot of compromise because of that. And she wants a little bit of everything. Well, she wants all of everything, basically, and she doesn't want to have to share, as Varys said. She also, it's not enough just for her to rule. She wants to be beloved as well. She wants people to see her in the way that she sees herself and the way that the people closest to her see her. And, to be honest, she hasn't done a lot to earn that for anyone in Westeros right now. There was a line in there when she was talking about the way, I think it was about the way people look at Jon, and she said, I think she said it to him, I've seen that look before. I've seen people look at me that way, but just never here, never in this country. And you know what has she done? Because even her biggest victory, supposedly, the battle against the Night King, that was orchestrated and ultimately triumphed by the Stark family. So the Stark family get all the credit. And Daenerys, I think there's that issue, she doesn't want to cede anything with the North. She's making enemies there. She's just sort of her complete lack of compromise in any way. It's not diplomatic, and whether she has the very best intentions in her heart, which I think she does, at least she believes that she does, she doesn't tend to see things from other people's points of view, and I think that's probably why she's getting herself in a lot of trouble, because those sort of steadfast heroes in the old stories never quite get everything exactly their way.
Yeah, see, the psychologist side of me puts everything you have just talked about into the fear bucket.
Yep.
So that's the root of all of this, is Daenerys' fear. So there's no real rational case for her to not want to compromise and have to maintain such a crazy level of control and such a poignant desire to sit on the throne. All of that stems from her not being 100% secure in who she is and her purpose, because if she really is about breaking the wheel, there are other ways to go about breaking the wheel than being so steadfast in wanting to sit on the throne, because maybe even if the pursuit of the throne, you are keeping the wheel turning, whereas to break the wheel you would display any notion of that. And that's where Jon comes in, because Jon's really the kind of person who's actually going about wanting to break the wheel. That's what other people can see in him, is if you don't have the desire for it, you're more attractive. Whereas a lot of Daenerys' actions stem from that root of fear and insecurity, and that sets off a vibe, and that sets off a mood, and that's what everyone else is picking up on. and suddenly Daenerys isn't as attractive as a ruler.
Yeah, Tyrion and Varys talked about that a bit in one of their 2 scenes, which were great scenes and just absolute lovely, delightful callbacks to the good old days of just like people in a room plotting carefully behind people's backs. It's lovely old Game of Thrones right there. But yeah, they talked about that idea, and Varys sort of said something that sounded a lot like the old saying about politicians, which is that anyone who would want to be a politician should automatically be like, and anyone who would want to do that job already has the wrong intentions and then the wrong character to be able to do it. Something along, I think people know what I'm trying to say there. But yeah, she wants to. It's not just that she wants to rule. It's that that's all she knows, because she grew up being told that her family's rightful throne, their rightful kingdom, was taken from them by the usurper Robert Baratheon, and this is her identity, is that she is Daenerys Stormborn, ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, etc., etc. And politics, which is really what this is all about, because once people, it's, the people in King's Landing, all those people huddled in there waiting for the Dragonfire to get them, they don't get a vote over who the next king or queen is, but as soon as people can just start overthrowing each other and starting revolutions and all this, this is politics that we're talking about now. And politics, you gotta make compromises. You gotta share things around a little bit. You gotta have some give and take. Tyrion knows this. The first thing Tyrion did when Bronn just randomly out of nowhere decided that he was in Winterfell now, wanders into a room with 2 Lannisters, no one else ever sees him. A little bit weird, but an enjoyable scene to get them there. Bronn threatens him, and the first thing Tyrion says is, "Hey, remember we had a deal. Anyone anyone offers you money to kill me, I'll double it." And he says, "Well, I've been offered this castle," and he just straight away says, "Well, what about this one instead?" Like, he doesn't even hesitate to start bargaining, and that's a power broker right there, as opposed to Daenerys, who she doesn't know how to compromise. It's getting her in a lot of trouble right now. Where do you think she goes next? Like, do you think this is a tenable situation right now with her and Cersei, and you chucking Jon's armies marching down slowly? Like, is she just going to do something rash and stupid and cost everyone here, or is she going to... It's actually hard to imagine her listening to the people around her, though, at the moment. I don't know.
To be honest, Daenerys is... like, she's in this rather simple situation, so I don't really find Daenerys all that interesting, other than the psychological, trying to assess her as a character. And you mentioned Cersei, you mentioned Jon's army. The more interesting aspect of all of this is how what role Sansa plays in Daenerys and Jon Snow's fate, because that's the other kind of angle to episode 4, was you had Arya and Sansa, who are clearly up to things. Sansa apparently appeared to tell Tyrion about Jon's parentage and basically let the cat out of the bag, let the secret out. So she is doing her own wheeling and dealing, and then you got Arya, who is... she's up to something. I kind of believe that she's going to go down to King's Landing and she will kill someone, if not multiple people, in King's Landing with the Hound, and the Hound will go down and he'll fight his old mate, and they'll have that situation. So I think Arya and Sansa, they are playing roles in the situation in different ways, because who's to say that anyone's going to know what Arya's up to? She might just go out and kind of lone wolf it and destroy someone and finish the battle, as she did with the Night King. But Sansa there's an end game for Sansa as well. It's not like whatever she's doing is just for lols. Sansa has a scheme that she's working on, and she's trying to set things in motion, perhaps to undermine Dany, and just how that situation unfolds. Like, I don't know, like it just feels like it's not necessarily what Dany does next, it's what happens next to Dany that is a more important question, because she could get it from any angle. She could get it from Jon, Sansa, Tyrion, Varys. Any of these people could push Daenerys in a certain direction, and then it's what happened. It's after that point, it's what does Daenerys do next.
Well, Varys came storming back into contention in this episode, compared to where he had been. Like, even just 2 or 3 episodes ago, he was sitting on they was standing on the wall with Davos and Tyrion, and Varys was just saying, basically paraphrasing here, "Look at us old bastards up here. Look at those young buggers down there about to inherit all of this." And Tyrion has come surging back into contention himself. He got a lot of help with that. He had people going around telling everyone else how smart he was again without him having to actually do anything smart. I think here we saw, even still, he hasn't done anything crazy, but we've seen the prominence he's held in by a few different sides here. Notable that it was him that Sansa came to talk to, he came to talk to her, but she opened up to him. And he's also got the heir of Varys, who is the ultimate schemer. And just having Varys and Tyrion back in those big roles again, I think adds a fun little dynamic that we've missed for a little while. But Varys coming back into contention, he said something interesting to Tyrion. He said, "We all have a choice to make." And I think that's sort of like, we're very close to the end here. There's 2 more episodes, and they're 80 minutes each, so 160 more minutes, so a little under 3 hours left remaining of Game of Thrones all up. There's not a lot of major complications still. What we're sort of at is everyone has that choice, like that one choice to make. Jaime supposedly just made that choice and chose Cersei over Brienne. I'm not sure if everything's as clean cut as that, because he just seemed to take a heel turn real sharp, and maybe he's a little more I don't know, maybe he wants closure rather than going back to Cersei specifically. I'm not sure exactly. I think there's a lot more that'll happen there. Because otherwise that was just a dumb scene that doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think they have at least... They've tried to lay a lot of groundwork for these things in the future, and some of it was hit and miss. But I do see where they're going with. And Dany's choice right now is... how much does she trust Jon, and how much does she want to, cede her power to Jon and let him, help her win this battle? Because if she goes crazy and acts alone, like her father once did, and starts burning things, then that's where she's in trouble. That's where I'm sort of... Because it's not like she doesn't have a major complicated situation, you're right, but she just has that one thing is, can she keep a level head under pressure right now? And they're telling us, I guess they're hinting at us that she can't, but I think Tyrion's decision is the most important one, because he's been put in this... He's probably the most important character right now, because his decision is Jon or Dany, and that decision is going to decide Game of Thrones, ultimately. And I'm not sure how much Sansa is scheming right now, because I think she sort of did that. I think she had that moment talking to Tyrion where she was like, I can really rough things up here. She hesitated. She'd promised to Jon that she wouldn't tell anyone his secret. She hesitated. She turned. She called Tyrion back. Next thing, Tyrion's talking to Varys, so we know he knows. We know she told him. She certainly let the cat out of the bag there. And I think that was her plot. I'm not sure what there is left to do for her, at least in this next episode, until other developments have been made, other than sit back and wait and see how it goes. She's unleashed this thing. As Dany told Jon, these secrets have a life of their own. You tell one person, they tell 2 people, they tell 4 people, they tell 8 people, they tell 16 people, so on and so forth. Eventually, now, it's inevitable now that Sansa's told Tyrion that this secret is no longer a secret. In fact, Varys said that, didn't he? He said it's not a secret anymore because 8 people or something know it. Now it's just information. So I guess Sansa just gets to chill, put her feet up for a little bit, stay nice and safe away from the battle for for the next at least 20 minutes until something crazy happens, because we've seen that Game of Thrones moves very fast at the moment, and she just got to balls on the other side of the court now, waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, you alluded to Sansa perhaps confiding in Tyrion. I definitely lean more.
You don't reckon?
I definitely lean more towards she intentionally told Tyrion, knowing.
Oh no, yeah, for
like,
sure.
It wasn't
She definitely knew what she was.
I'm feeling sad,
what she was
and
unleashing.
Tyrion's here, and he can help me. No, Sansa told him, and Sansa also told someone else about killing Cersei. Like I can't remember.
Jaime.
Yeah, and she
said it in front of Jaime, and that was the trigger for Jaime to turn around and ride south.
Yeah, but so Sansa suggested that she herself would like to kill Cersei. Arya is someone well skilled and arguably the best assassin in this world right now. So you got two Stark children who wouldn't mind, and I don't know how Sansa would do it, but she's got it in her head. She's said it at least, and things are said intentionally in the show. So while Sansa might not have the means, she has said quite clearly that she would love to kill Cersei. I'm sure Jon would happily kill Cersei. I think that Jaime could make a play at killing Cersei, but it's a 50-50 split between killing Cersei and fighting alongside Cersei, but Jaime might sympathy kill Cersei to stop her being killed by anyone else out of love. There is some kind of prophecy element there as well. So Jaime could kill Cersei. Dany could kill Cersei. At this stage,
Grey Worm wouldn't mind a crack right now.
Grey Worm wouldn't mind it. Tyrion could pull something out and kill Cersei as well. So what I'm saying here is that the seeds have been planted for a whole lot of different characters to kill Cersei, which is a very interesting idea because we've just watched an episode where Arya Stark came out of nowhere with the Hail Mary play to kill the Night's King. No one expected that. No one thought of that. No one even had the idea that Arya Stark would be the one. And here we are with a clear villain, with a clear person that has to die for any type of happy ending or even a bittersweet ending, because the sweetness is going to be in our team defeating Cersei, and Cersei probably has to die for that to happen. So we have this character who is most likely going to die. No one has any idea who is going to be the person that kills Cersei, and that's a great thing. That's great writing. That's a great little cliffhanger to sit on at the stage, because the seed's been planted everywhere as to who may be the one to kill Cersei Lannister.
I'm pretty interested right now. I think the most curious character, the most important character at the moment is Tyrion, followed closely by Cersei just because she wields all the power on the other side. And then I'm very, very, exactly what you're just saying, very interested in Arya's little solo mission, because it's probably positioned that she's gonna, she's the person who could get the best shot at Cersei. Cersei's very well protected, but Arya is like the ninja queen, and she can definitely sneak her way in, just as Bronn did to that room in Winterfell. She can sneak her way into any room in the castle in King's Landing. She can, face shift into Qyburn if she has to, or whatever. Like, she can get that shot, and she can make her own shot, as Damian Lillard would say. But there was that line where she was talking to the Hound, and the Hound says, like, I'm gone south, I've only got one mission in mind, and she says, yeah, same with me, and he says, and I don't intend to come back alive, and she says, neither, which is a little bit like maybe she's just saying something because she's talking a tough game and she's hanging out with the Hound, who is the only other person probably in their crew in Winterfell who has a single-minded focus in the same way that Arya does. And Arya, just gave Gendry walked up to her, ripped his heart out of his chest and handed it to her in the palms of his hands, and she just sort of took it from him, placed it back where it came from, stitched him up nicely, patted him on the chest and said, "There you go, son, but thanks but no thanks." She's only got one idea, and we haven't heard a lot about that list, but there was a callback the other, I think 2 episodes ago, where the Hound or Beric, one of them asked, they were both on her list at one point, and one of them asked if the other was on the list, and she said used to or something, it was but not anymore, something like that. So we know she does at least consider that, and Cersei was the number one person on that list. She seems to be the one that's gone for it, but I'm a little worried about this reckless abandon of it, this whole don't care if I don't come back alive sort of thing. I don't know, do you think she meant anything in particular like that, or was she just sort of like, this is the game, she's not worried about the consequences, or is she like straight up going in to go kamikaze on this?
At this stage, you just got to be aware that if you've got the mission to go down to King's Landing and kill Cersei Lannister, or kill a lot of people, you have to wholeheartedly accept the fact that you might not return. And I also think that using for Arya to rely heavily on her many-faced abilities would be a bit of a cop-out for someone like her. She has the ability, she is a talented assassin to the point where she could probably enter King's Landing, kill whoever she wants to kill, kind of using 20% many-faced god abilities and 80% Arya Stark abilities. So, yeah, sure, that might mean that we never see Arya Stark have any sort of happy ending, but she is an assassin, live by the sword, die by the sword. The last idea I want to kind of raise here is, you alluded to Sansa just sitting up in the north. The way things have been portrayed, even with Bran Stark as well, them sitting up in the north and not playing any sort of role in whatever is to come doesn't feel right. There's been too much groundwork with Sansa, including setting things up with Tyrion to put a wedge between Jon and Dany and all of that. Even in the previous episodes, there was a lot of Sansa being the Sansa Stark we've seen in recent episodes. There's a lot of stuff being set up that just doesn't feel like Sansa and or Bran are just going to sit up in the north and not do anything. I don't know what they can do because they're not the most talented people. Well, Bran's very talented at long-distance warfare. Sansa Stark, her talents are limited, so I'm not sure what role Sansa plays. I've got ideas and different little quirks as to what role Bran will eventually play, but I just don't think it's going to be Sansa chilling up in Winterfell. I think she's just got more. There's more to that we will eventually find out, and based partly on my appreciation for Sansa, but also that appreciation has led me to observe her scenes very closely in the first 3 to 4 episodes, and it just feels like there's more to whatever she is offering us at this stage.
That is fair. I think when I'm saying she'll the sitting with her feet up and chilling is just waiting until that next move is made by whoever. She's just got the ball in motion about Jon's parentage, so she doesn't have to act right now. She waits and see how other people act. But the way this show, that last episode was kind of bonkers because it covered so much ground in one go. And I don't know that that's actually the best thing for the show. I think that episode would have been better if you had the first, I don't know, 40 minutes or whatever it was as one episode, and maybe chuck in another 10, 15 minutes of extra scenes just to fill it out. But you have that, so you put some of these ideas about Dany, about Jaime, about a couple of these others, certainly about like Sansa's plotting abilities and stuff like this. You have this, and then you give people a week to wait before you go marching down south, and then you have the dragon ambush, and this kind of stuff. So it's not all just happening at once, and it feels like it's just like some of these characters have just taken a complete like 180, and like Jaime and Dany in particular just seem to go. Jaime just did it in one scene. Sansa mentions Cersei, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, that's right, I love her. I'm a terrible person. I'll kill anyone for her," and he just marches off like that. I mean, first of all, Brienne should have just, like, instead of crying, she should have just arrested him at that point, because at that point he's a traitor. So, you know, she could have stopped him. She's a better swordsperson than he is. But whatever. There are a couple of little contrived moments, I thought, in that episode, which they did in order to move the plot along quicker. The kidnapping of Missandei, I just thought was stupid at the time. Gave us a nice finale where she got executed in front of everyone, which was tragic, but certainly re-establish the stakes that are going on here. But I just thought the way it happened was dumb, and the whole ambush was a bit of a weird scene, and killing one dragon, but then like 5 direct shots to this one dragon, and then the other dragon flies directly at them even closer, and they can't hit it once. Like, it was, I don't know, there was some odd stuff going on there, but it's the speed at which it moves. I think a lot will happen next episode. Things will move fast, you know. Sansa will have her feet up for 20 minutes, and something crazy will happen, and she'll be right back in the midst of it.
Well, that's what we're working with. Six episodes. That's all we got. I just kind of plonk down and watch it. Like, you've always been up on the speed of travel and the logistics of Game of Thrones. It's never really.
Only when it takes me out of it, you know. If it's too dumb, then I just think, well, that's just silly, and then it ruins the illusion that's going on. Like, snaps me out of the show. But whatever.
Well, you might be in for a roller coaster ride in these last few episodes. And you might want to strap in and just let go of the wheel and let them take wherever they got to go.
Do you reckon we've seen the last of Tormund?
Yeah, and unfortunately, probably the wolf as well. Unceremoniously fuck off.
I know, shoved aside, eh? But I tell you what, there is another wolf that's out there, still alive, and it lives somewhere off the King's Road between Winterfell and King's Landing, and it happens to be Arya's wolf, and Arya happens to be heading in that direction. So I wouldn't rule it out. I'm not sure what use she would have for a wolf when she's gone on a stealth mission, so it probably won't happen, but it's possible.
Yeah, and the line she rolled out for Gendry was the same line she told her dad. That it's not me line. And then she also shared the same idea with Nymeria when she met Nymeria on the way up to Winterfell. She said to Nymeria, "That's not you." And so you're getting these connections, and I think it would be fitting for her to link up with Nymeria and, you know, then cause a bit of a ruckus in King's Landing, because that is them.
Some of the, like, a brief moan earlier about some of the contrived kind of like plot, just the speed at which it happens, where things happen where they haven't quite laid the groundwork for it. But some of the writing in this season so far, where they're just bringing back old elements from earlier on the show, I'm absolutely adoring that stuff. Some of that has been done so well. Not so much with the coffee cup. Did you see that?
Yeah, it could have been intentional. You never know.
I like. It's probably just a silly mistake. Someone missed the shot. I find it funny rather than offensive or anything like that. I think that's kind of cute that kind of thing can sneak in from a show with such an enormous budget. It wasn't. I just hope it wasn't a Starbucks cup, because I'd be pretty offended if Game of Thrones, with all their money, are just sending interns to Starbucks to get coffee. Like, find a nice independent coffee house somewhere and, you know, give them a prop up. But yeah, so it goes.
So it goes indeed, Wildcard. Should we wrap it up there? And we'll be back to talk Wellington Phoenix in the coming days. Their season is all done and dusted, and then I'll be back to talk some rugby league things. later in the week as well. That's another episode of the Niggliest Nichecast done and dusted. And we'll just finish with a mental image of Missandei losing her head and falling off at King's Landing. Kia kaha.